July 16, 2025 meeting of the Harwich Conservation Commission being held in Don B. Griffin Room at Harwich Town Hall. Participation is possible both in person and online through GoToMeeting. Login instructions for GoToMeeting are available on the agenda, which can be found on the Town of Harwich website. We're going to start with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, the first item on the agenda tonight is a request for determination of applicability for 15 Trinity Cove, map 1, parcel E1-3, for the construction of a cohort shell/gravel driveway, new stone walkway, new landscape plantings, repair of existing irrigation system, and excavation of existing lawn footprint. This has been continued from July 2nd, 2025. Yes, sir.
Sean O'Leary, again representing Lou and Lisa Lazzillo in continuation of our July 2nd meeting. So I have made the requested changes to the landscape design, adding natural buffing, mitigating plantings along the bank of the coastline, and changed what was inside the 50 edge of the salt marsh, along with a couple other plants along the foundation, to comply with all the mitigating.
I have no other questions. Sean took some of the suggestions that I had to incorporate them. This is still landward of the existing highest of high tide, so it's not salt marsh yet. It's going to be a little time before it. So these plants should do fine, and they're appropriate for the area. So I would recommend approval with a -2 and 3 determination, because you're both in a resource, being the floodplain as well as riverfront, and you're also in the buffer zone to a salt marsh. I am set.
I don't have anything.
Vivian.
Any questions?
My one comment is you're gonna have a really hard time finding sea lavender.
Yeah, I just put it in for now for some color. We'll see if we can't. We'll just go with something else that's going to be that's going to survive in the salt marsh. So
You could always go with, it won't be salt marsh for a little bit, so you could always go with more goldenrod.
We have
or
goldenrod on the other side.
Butterfly.
On the other side, so we could just mimic that if it doesn't work.
Mimic that, yep. Or butterfly milkweed or something like that, which should do for the time being.
Okay, I don't have any comments. Anything from the public? Doesn't seem that way. We have a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve the termination for 15 Trinity Cove, map 1, parcel E1-3, with a -2 and 3 determination.
I'll second it.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
1-0.
Thank you all.
Thanks. That should be ready on Friday. Because you don't need to record it, we can just email you one.
That's
Is that fine?
Yep.
Okay, next we have a notice of intent for 31 Mill Road and 6 Broad Drive, map 15, parcels U3 and U3-2, for reconstruction of an existing joint use dock and maintenance structure. This is going to continue on July 2 this year.
Yes, thank you. For the record, Mark Burgess, Shorefront Consulting, ocean engineer. So we were going to do this July 2nd, but DMF requested an extension to provide comments, which they have. It was this afternoon, so I don't know if anybody's really had a chance to read them. I can paraphrase.
I printed it out, and It's on their table, but please paraphrase.
Excuse me. So the last time we were here, we went through the plan, which originally kept the dredging under 100 cubic yards. And there was some discussion between the regulations and desires, and we were asked to look into revising the dredging so that the seaward floats could have some clearance under them. Because they were aground at low tide, and nobody likes that. I informed the commission by doing that we would be dredging within 25 feet of salt marsh, and that DMF might not like that. So we submitted the revised plan. The dredging volume went from, I think it was 97 to 260, I believe. Yep, 260 yards. And, oops, sorry, we're about 15 feet from the marsh. Again, so by moving it landward, yes, we can get, I got it so we're 2.5 feet under the float. And actually DMF came back with 30 inches as well. But we're within 15 feet of the marsh. And that was basically what the changes were. So we expanded the north and south dredge area to encompass the area between the fender piles. The dredge depth remained at -3. The dredge area was extended landward to allow for dredging under the 2 existing 8x16 floats that are within the docking system. And the dredge depth on the floats was reduced to 2.5 inches, 2.5 feet. And I mentioned that, and this is always subject to interpretation, but under the small dock and pier guidelines, only 18 inches of clearance is required under a floats, unless it's considered significant shellfish habitat. Significant isn't defined, so I'm under the assumption that finding 2 shellfish in the whole area would probably make this a reasonably insignificant area for shellfish because of the muck. You dredge it all out, it might get better. But I went with the 30 inches, just in case. 16 feet seaward of salt marsh. While we'd like to stay 25 feet away, it's simply not possible to do and to keep the existing floats from grounding at low tide. And I stated that the dredging portion of the project is maintenance dredging, not new dredging, and is entirely within previously approved dredge footprints. So please keep in mind that the previous permitted dredge footprint dredged right up against existing salt marsh, and this entire area was created out of salt marsh many years ago. The dredge area proposed for the project maintains 16 feet of clearance from the marsh where it was previously dredged 0 feet from the marsh. This is an improvement over the previous permits and allows proper clearance under the floats. So that was the crux and the focus of the plan revision. DMF submitted comments this afternoon around, 2 or 3 o'clock? They had the same opening statements about the area being water flounder and mapped shellfish habitat and things like that. Their recommendations was a time of year restriction, no problem there. The original NOI described how similar projects have provided shellfish mitigation funds. It's unclear if the applicant is proposing $6,000 in shellfish mitigation funds for this project. That frankly is none of their business, but also this is not a new project, it's maintenance. It's not a new dock, so we don't deal with the $6,000 shellfish mitigation fee. I'm not sure where that came from. It might have been suggested in a narrative, but either way, it's none of their business. Let's see. Shellfish survey plan showed that shellfish were found at each transect at the bulkhead. At the bulkhead? There's no bulkhead here. So I'm going to strike that remark. And I will tell you, out of the last 3 or 4 projects that DMF has reviewed for me, not even in Harwich, but in other towns, they have been completely off. I got one today about using an access next door, and it's private property, and they thought it was a town landing. So somebody clearly is not doing their job there. Okay, dredging intertidal habitat. At this time, Mass DMF cannot support the current scope of dredging because it now includes intertidal habitat. Mass DMF continues to recommend that the top of the slope be no closer than 25 feet from the, be no closer than 25 feet from the mean low water line. Dredging the toe of the slope near mean water, could result in slumping of intertidal habitat, and the project doesn't meet this recommendation? Right, because when you dredge above what is now mean low water, when you dredge it, it converts to land under ocean. So that's the other conundrum when you dredge. So the town does this all the time. At the entrance to channels, when they shoal in, now that's above mean low water. And then they dredge it out, so it's deep again. So the practice is done. I just don't know why in residential projects they raise a stink about it. And then recommends the top of the dredge slope maintain a buffer 25 feet. Yeah, we know that. Conditionally approved shellfish habitat and more support for the May 5th, they say although shellfish can't be harvested from human consumption from May 15 or October 31st, they serve as important brood stock. Yes, correct. Whether shellfish are suitable for eating, it's still habitat. Even with dredging, the proposed boat would likely ground during low tides. They don't even know what boat is there. And then in-kind dock restoration, reconstruction, and pier conversion. Mass DMF recommends the bottom of the proposed slope be at least 2.5 feet above the substrate over mapped shellfish habitat, which is what I drew. So, and that's if, with dredging, the entire float as proposed may still not maintain this minimum clearance at mean high water. That's false. If approved, Mass DMF recommends installing POW-supported float stops. Well, they're not needed because we have 2.5 feet of clearance. Restriction of barge to 2 hours, and then just fuel spills, and that was it. So basically, they're not in support of intertidal dredging, and I still don't know why that is such a big issue. The regs do say something about conversion of habitat, but again, folks, this is the conundrum that we're in. To meet one regulation, we have to break another. So really, it's totally up for discussion. The applicants will go either way. We can go back to Plan A and just dredge where we are and the floats are aground, or we can attempt to go this way. Please remember, DMF is only they're not a regulatory body. So I don't even know if they can't even appeal something like this. So they provide comments and suggestions, sometimes right, sometimes wrong, but they're not a regulatory agency, so you are free to do what you wish, with all respect to them. I guess with that, we'll open it for discussion, I'm sure.
Amy?
It's tough because you have an existing license to be able to dredge
Mhm.
this area that you're proposing to dredge. And just because the owners haven't done it in a while, we're kind of in this situation a little bit, is that it hasn't been maintained. So to me, I don't necessarily, I acknowledge that you have a dredge license, a license to do all this work, that the pier, as it is out there in the field, is licensed and perfectly legal. But I hesitate, I guess, to call it maintenance dredging.
You hesitate to call it what?
Maintenance dredging, but I don't want to get into
Yeah, well,
semantics.
Yeah, it's not
It's
new,
not too
it's not
important.
new or improvement dredging.
But, I mean, if you didn't have a license for the existing structure, it'd be a whole other thing, but you
Correct.
have one. You have something that the state has approved,
Twice.
and now you're asking, it's kind of hard.
And each time the dredge volume gets less. I think the first time it was dredged, when it was originally created, it was like 2,500 yards. And then 10 years ago, when they did it, it was 500 and something, and now we're down to
Yeah.
260. So it's, the frequency of shoaling in is less and less.
So I think what I put at the last minute in your site summaries, and what I'll say is that I am more concerned about the protection of salt marsh and making sure that that doesn't slump than what I would consider marginal shellfish habitat. The shellfish survey didn't show much. We all know that the surveys are kind of a broad estimation, or not estimation, it's a survey. But more so, the sediment quality in this area is not great for a long-term population, as is. That being said, if you dredge, it could be much better. An idea I had, and this came to me after I read the DMF letter at 4 o'clock today,
Yeah,
was, would there be a possibility of doing an overwash bulkhead or a sill to hold, so you could dredge within 25 feet of a salt marsh but not risk the slump? Is there something that you could install, and this is, I have not even, we haven't even mentioned it to the commission yet,
right.
but is, we've seen it in other areas where you wanna prevent the slumping of salt marsh. And that could actually allow you to dredge. See, the marsh isn't going to migrate landward, or seaward with sea level rise and everything else.
Right.
If anything, it's trying to migrate landward. So it's not gonna migrate seaward, so is there something that can be installed to ensure that it doesn't slump?
Well, okay, so my first thought is, yes, I suppose you could do that if the commission was amenable to an overwash bulkhead.
Up for discussion.
And I can explain if some of you haven't had experience with those, but that adds considerable expense to the project
I
for something
understand.
that might not happen. So this area isn't subject to a lot of wave action, only for boats, and if they follow the rules, the wake shouldn't be that, I know, they shouldn't be that bad. But it's taken 10 years to silt in, so it is a slow process.
Yeah.
I would suggest, if you wanted to go that route, that we monitor the grade in front of the marsh. And if it looks like, as a result of dredging, that it's creeping toward the marsh,
An annual monitoring or something like that.
then handle it that, that it has to be addressed, whether we do fiber rolls or overwash bulkhead or whatever. But I think 16 feet away, we've seen other projects that are dredged closer than that, and
Understood.
the marsh has been fine. And we've seen others that were dredged too close,
Yes, we have.
that
Marsh was
you've
not
had to
fine.
do some fiber rolls to protect.
Well, and I was thinking too of the other project that you had, it was on Oyster Creek where we did an overwash. Didn't we do an overwash on you do an overwash on Oyster Creek? So an overwash bulkhead sticks up just a little bit above the bottom, so you still get, tide and sediment transport to the marsh, but it just anchors it a little bit, so the sediment doesn't slide off.
Oh, Skipper did one in Richmond Harbor.
Okay, yeah?
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah, so you position the bulkhead essentially at the new mean low water line, so that you're not converting, well, no, you still are,
you're still
'cause
converting,
you're still gonna
because
convert.
you can't put it at mean low water, because you're yeah.
Right, mean low
Otherwise
water's
you wouldn't.
out, right.
Yeah.
So you put it at the new mean low, you put it up in the beach, and
Yeah.
usually at the mean low water line, but in this case, wherever the dredge cut is, you'd put it maybe a foot behind that, at
Right.
whatever elevation the soil is at now.
Right.
You could put it lower, it just means that soil's gonna slump until it reaches the top of the bulkhead, but if you wanna protect it the way it is, whatever height that is where you put the bulkhead, that's where you put it, right flush to grade. Then you can dredge straight down, however deep you want, and out, and create your parking space, and that could be maintained. You can, I guess you could always do that, but that probably adds, $60,000 to the cost of the project. Regardless of your funds, that's always a
Of course, I
consideration.
understand, it was just a thought and an
I-
option potentially to, I'm maybe less concerned about, like I said, shellfish habitat and converting intertidal to subtidal, because a
Right.
lot of the interests of coastal beach, of the intertidal area and land under the ocean are very similar, so
I think it's
as
a
your
great-
agent, I'm more concerned
Right.
about protection of salt marsh than the dredging of intertidal to become subtidal.
I think it's a great idea if they were willing to go for it, or
Well, let's see how
or
everybody feels.
as a special condition to see how this goes.
Okay,
Okay,
um,
sorry.
I'm all set.
mean, I hate to spend other people's money like this, but I do, it does, you know, first of all, I'm gonna defer to Amy on this, but it seems like it would make sense, because you're you're potentially putting a protective measure in there, so there's no chance that you're gonna get that kind of movement. You know, it sounds like it might be a possible solution or compromise, call it what you will, but, maybe they'd be willing to have that conversation.
Well, I'd certainly have it with them, and if you're doing it as part of the project, all the equipment is the same equipment, barge, whatever, that you use to dredge is out there to drive the sheets in. They don't have to be anchored.
Yeah.
You know, you're probably looking at 10-foot sheets, if that, and then you could dredge deeper if you want, and then everybody might be more happy. So it is money, 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 but
Yeah.
maybe the juice is worth the squeeze to them.
Because you could potentially dredge deeper, which would mean a longer period of time before you need to dredge again.
Right, and if we're going over 100 cubic yards, it doesn't matter. You know, water quality certificate is water quality, so, and that isn't as big a deal as I thought it was gonna be.
I think it's a good solution myself. It would work really good.
Well, I can bring it back to them and see what they think. If it busts the budget, we'll have to think of something else, or, like
So
I
my
said.
recommendation is, if they're saying no to that, is to go with your first alternative
Oh, okay,
and just not have 2.5 feet underneath.
yep,
And again, it's because they have an existing licensed dock and dredge requirement. If they didn't, then I would never say that. You have to stick to 3 feet. But because they have something in place, I would go with your first option.
okay. And the only correction I have to make to that plan is correct where I didn't dredge under the
Correct.
floats, that's all. And I would
Yep.
just massage it so it's under 100 yards and
Mhm.
be done with it.
Yeah, so, I agree that it's the salt marsh that's at risk, and just because the salt marsh was taken away when
Mhm.
when the system was initially deployed,
Mhm.
doesn't mean we should be cavalier with risking the salt marsh. Again, you know, if anything, we should be doing things to restore it, not to threaten it. So, I think that's a priority. I would like to see the overwash bulkhead thing work. I think that's a good solution. I'm also unhappy that we got this letter that I haven't had a chance to look
Yeah.
at.
Mhm.
Your summary notwithstanding, you know,
Yeah,
I haven't had a chance to look at it, so I don't.
right.
I know.
I don't wanna vote on this without digesting what
They got a few things wrong, just so, they did get a few things wrong.
I'm not asking for any kind of vote tonight. I'll bring this idea back to them and see what they think, and then we'll come back. I'll come back with either, well, it'll be a revised plan no matter what, but it'll either be including the bulkhead or just a corrected first alternative. So I guess I'm requesting the continuance this time.
Well, I guess before we do that, if they say they don't wanna go the overwash bulkhead route, my opinion is that the first option, which is a small amount of dredging, to keep the maximum amount of stability as possible to the first option would be my option. This current option requires a lot more dredging in, pretty close proximity to the marsh. Does everybody agree that that the first option, if the overwash bulkhead is not favored by the owner? Or do you wanna have that discussion after he speaks with his client?
Can we have it after he speaks?
Mhm. I was curious if anybody had any strong opinions.
No,
So-
not at this point, not for me.
But
Only
I have
him.
a question, which is, the way I see this proposed thing being used, and I've never looked at how those docks are being used now, but a float, the way it's configured here, implies to me, I don't know what kind of boats they have, but it implies to me they're backing the boat into those slips and boarding from the stern of the boat.
Right.
Is that
No.
the way they're using that? And then my question is, what's the point in the floats at all? They gonna go bow first into those slips and then clamber over the bow of a big boat in order to?
No, I think they're using the floats. They put kayaks on them in the summer, I believe. So they're using the ramp and the floats to get down to the water, because otherwise there's only ladders off the side of the dock. So the south side, when he converts it to ramp and floats, he'll be able to get down to the water. So, I mean, he's permitted for that extra float. Each of them both have that 8x16 float. So the south side, when he converts it, he'll have ramp and floats down to the water. So maybe he doesn't need that anymore. I guess that would be his option, because it's approved. The boats are there now, if you want to take a look. There's at least 2 boats there, sometimes there's 3, and there's dockage for 4. But he comes in bow first. That was why we didn't have to dredge quite so much by the floats, but
Mhm.
definitely get it out in the stern.
But they're boarding the boats from the elevated pier?
Yeah. We looked at different things. So the boat and the level of the gunnel on the north side, he's able to get in and out of the boat satisfactorily at high or low tide. The boat to the south, for some reason, it either has to jump or it's too high, or one of the two. And we talked about using a platform that went up and down and all kinds of stuff. And a marine contractor said, just convert it to floats. And he's like, yeah, that actually is not a bad option. So it depends on the boats. But I know that, I think there's at least 2 there, maybe 3 now. You can't see it, well, you're allowed to go on the property, so if you stop by. And I'll meet you out there if you want. That's no problem.
Okay, all right.
You, John, you know how to get a hold of me directly, right? My name's on all the letterhead, so
I'm sure I can,
I'm sure you can find me.
but I can just go over there and have a look.
You can, but I'm happy to join you if you like,
All right, thank you.
or anybody else.
So our next meeting is August 6th. That's 3 weeks out, because we have a 5 Wednesday month. So we would need something the Wednesday prior, which gives you 2 weeks if you want that date to talk to your client and revise.
So you need a plan by, wait,
The last Wednesday of July.
July 30th?
Is that doable? You
Don't
want to
know.
shoot for that and then see
Yeah.
what happens?
Now,
So, August 6th.
okay, however, if I do this, do we go back to DMF or not? And I sent this to the reviewing person at DEP, and haven't heard squat from them.
So I think, just to be transparent, that yes, you should send a revision to DMF.
So they're gonna want, well, unless I can get it to them, I mean, maybe a week is enough for them to look at it. If they want more time, we do like we did this time, we just extend it again. I mean,
Because what you run the risk of is, even though DMF is not regulatory, they are advisory, and they can easily speak with DEP.
well, and they have another chance to comment during the licensing period,
Correct,
so.
so,
I know, I don't want any bumps in the road either. I'm trying to retire in a year. I don't need long projects.
so let's shoot for August 6th, and,
Yep.
Okay.
Need plan by 7:30.
yes, please.
We have a motion. Okay, I'll move that we continue the hearing for 31 Mill Road and 6 Florida Drive, map 15, parcels U3 and U2-2, for a notice of intent for reconstruction of existing joint-use dock and maintenance dredging. We continue this to August 6th, 2025.
I have a
Discussion?
comment.
Yes.
We didn't ask for public comment.
Thank you. Is there public comment? I don't hear any public comment, so any further discussion from the commission? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Okay, it's in my phone.
Thank you.
Thanks for working through this. It's an interesting one. It wasn't supposed to be this complicated.
Next, we have a notice of intent for 11 Nons Road, map 6, parcel C1-10, for reconstruction of an existing dock. This also has been continued from July 2nd, 2025.
I've met with them, and they're actually meeting with the harbor master and natural resource director and I next week. We think we came up with a better solution that better meets your regulations. So they would like a continuation to August 6th.
Okay, I'm gonna move that we continue the notice of intent hearing for 11 Nons Road, map 6, parcel C1-10, for reconstruction of an existing dock. We continue this to August 6, 2025.
I'll
We
second
just
it.
did the last one to August 8th, which date is
I
No,
thought I
August
said
It's the
the
6th.
6th.
the 6th? Okay.
Did we have a second?
Second it.
Oh, yeah.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. Next, we have a notice of intent for 0 Snow Inn Road and 69 Snow Inn Road, map 15, parcels P3-A and P3-1 for dock restoration.
Good evening, Commissioners. Dan Charmeckley here with Ty and Bond, representing the applicant.
Good evening. Go ahead.
So I think last time we were waiting for DEP file number, which we received earlier this week. And we just got comments back from DMF today, I believe, it was or late yesterday. They seem to be getting them in right under the wire for this meeting.
It's in your site summary, their comments.
Oh,
I wrote them in.
okay. Put that.
So we were waiting for the DEP number, and we did get DMF comments, and they basically had some recommendations for conditions, which I'll go through because we just got them. That they install pile-supported float stops to ensure the float maintains at least 2.5 feet at mean low water. That any old piles be removed, should they be, and not just cut. Any activities requiring a barge should be limited to 2 hours before to 2 hours after high tide, and they suggest that any refueling be done off-site. So provided that yourself and your applicant are in agreement that those are gonna be conditions in the order of conditions, I would recommend approval.
I think I would ask that we not be required to do the float stops. If they're going to be required, we're going to have to install additional piles beyond what's on the plan. There's only piles on one side of this float right now, so like float stops literally won't do anything on one side of the float, especially because it's the deep side of the float. This is so minimal, and the intent is to do, like I had mentioned in the previous meeting, the intent is to dredge here in the future, but getting the dock permitted and rebuilt is more of a priority given its terrible condition at this point. So we would have to install those piles just to pull them back out in the very near future.
That makes
So
sense.
I guess,
Can I
yeah,
ask what,
Sure.
understanding that there's probably not an agreement right now, but what is the intention of the homeowner for the dredging and on what time frame?
it would be probably in the next year or so. We want to get this permitted and built and then do the dredge next. So I would expect to be back in front of you within a year or so.
Out
With
of curiosity,
hopefully-
just why wasn't it part of the filing application now?
I think it was just because of the time constraints and the time required for permitting a dredge versus just essentially replacing a pier in kind.
Okay. Would you be opposed to a condition that says should dredging not be permitted within the next, say, 3 years, that they be required to do float stops, and do the additional piles?
I think I'd be okay with that. I think that's a fair compromise.
then I would recommend approval.
Okay. All set, Amy?
Yep.
Fine.
I don't have anything.
No question.
Nothing for me.
Okay, can you just remind me what the depth is on the shoreward side of the float?
Is it about 2.3?
Mean low?
One side of the float, it's about 2'9", and then at the western side of the float, it's about 2'9" mean low water, and then at the east side, it's about 2'4".
I'm asking for the landward, the north side.
Yes, I'm saying on the east and west corners of the float on the north side. It varies because the contour line doesn't exactly line up with the alignment of the float.
I understand.
So it varies across the width. It's from
But
2'9"
at
to
its shallow, it's
2'4".
2.4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would only, but it's sloping up, and so 5 feet further landward, it's less than that. So I would only request that we condition no use of the landward side of the float for boats.
No
Okay.
docking of boats on the
No
north side
docking
of the float.
boats on the landward side of the float. Until and unless there is dredging done.
Okay.
I don't have anything else. Do we have comments from the public? Apparently not. Would anyone care to make a motion?
Sure, I will. I'll make a motion to approve notice of intent for Silver Shores Cape Cod LLC, 0 Snow Inn Road and 69 Snow Inn Road, map 15, parcels P3-A and P3-1 with the Mass DMF conditions and the other two that we just mentioned with
Yeah,
regard
as
to-
amended by us.
as amended by the commission.
I'll second.
Okay, so just to clarify, you're including the restriction on use of the landward side of the float.
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Next, we have a notice of intent for 8 Cranberry Way, map 16, parcel W4-9 for a building addition and a septic system.
Good evening, David Clark, Clark Engineering, on behalf of the Rasnick family. What they're proposing, well, let me first go over the resource areas. So if you've been out to the site, you'll notice that this is on the landward edge of the salt marsh. The house is separated from the salt marsh by Cranberry Way. The floodplain associated with the salt marsh comes into the property on the south side of it, but it also, there is a low point on, I think it's Julian Way, or it could be Depot, I can't remember. But the floodplain can get to the backside of this property too. So we have coastal resource area on the south side as well as the north side. On the north side, it looks, from our work on the property, that if it wasn't for this house and the house next door, the landform would be less than 10-1 and no coastal bank would exist. But there is a short portion near the northwest corner of the property where it is steeper than 10-1. So technically, under the DEP guidance document on delineating the coastal bank, the floodplain in that location, the floodplain contour is the limits of the coastal bank. Similarly, on the south side, The abutting property to the east in that section is undeveloped, and the natural slope of that landform is less than 10 to 1. But coming around to the front side of the house, or the south side of the house, because of the construction of the house, and there's tiered retaining walls there, that meets the definition of a coastal bank under the regulations. Once that was established, you then look at the 50-foot setback from where those coastal banks are, and it's in nearly the entire property is encompassed in that area. So it was a challenge for the family to design a project that meets the needs of one of the individuals in the family who I think built this house originally several decades ago. She's elderly now, her health is somewhat compromised, and she needs the services of a home health care professional. So the family solution is to build an ADU on the property for that healthcare professional, and then that's the primary goal of the project. Well, the secondary goal is to provide access for somebody with declining health. So part of this addition has an elevator or lift that the idea is the individual can come in by vehicle into the garage and into the lift and then be lifted up to the second floor. At the second floor level, there is a deck bridge, so to speak, that connects the two structures so that you get access to the second floor of the existing dwelling. Part of the project that Conservation is not involved with is some interior renovations on the second floor to basically increase the size of the master suite. They're going to be eliminating a bedroom in the main house as part of this because they're gaining a bedroom in the ADU. Because of the location of the property and the constraints, as part of the upgrade of the septic system, we are including IA technology for the reduction of nutrients in the wastewater as mitigation for the changes to the site. So within the 0 to 50, we're increasing by 517 square feet. That's largely the addition in the deck. And in the 50 to 100, we're increasing by 303 square feet. And that's largely shifting the driveway around to accommodate getting in and out of the garage. One thing that's not shown on the mitigation plan or our plans, as far as calling it out, it is shown, is that the existing driveway goes over the property line on the north side. That we didn't include it in the restoration because we didn't want to drag that property into this NOI, but that driveway would be removed and native vegetation planted there to restore it to its natural condition. That additional square feet is about 112 square feet. We have other permitting hurdles to go through. We have to go to the Board of Health for variances to locate this new system. It doesn't encroach any further into the Board of Health's requirement of being 100 feet from a coastal bank. You can see where the existing 3 leach pits are. Some of them are well within the 50-foot to the bank on the northwest side. The new system will be outside the 50 and still meet Title V requirements as far as setback to abutters. But again, like I said earlier, we will have the benefit of a treatment system. And this also has to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals. I don't believe we have a date scheduled yet, but Amy might know more than I do. No, you haven't heard?
I don't know your scheduling
Okay.
for
So,
ZBA.
I think it would be appropriate, once we flush out all the issues with the commission, is to continue this until such time as we have a date certain with ZBA. And keep this open until we get through ZBA, just because of the complexities of, I don't wanna have to come back and amend an order or have
I was
a,
gonna say, we could, if there were changes, we could amend, but,
yeah, it's just easier if everybody gets on the same page when they issue their final permit, rather than coming back.
Right.
So, happy to answer questions.
it's a really cool property. The house is neat, the layout of all the decks. So, I don't view this coastal bank as significant in terms of a lot of the ways coastal banks are normally significant. It's not providing any downdrift sediment to any coastal beaches. Just because it's pretty much at the flood zone line, it is kind of a barrier for storm damage prevention and flood control, but minimally. It's the proposed activity is more than 100 linear feet from the actual wetland, which is marsh. And like David said, it's a coastal bank purely by definition, that the slope makes it just so. So though they are proposing new work in the 0 to 50 foot buffer to that bank, I don't view as it having an adverse impact to the stability of that bank, and that's what the performance standard is that an activity cannot alter the stability of a bank, and I don't see how this possibly could. Your requirement is 3-to-1 mitigation for work in the 0 to 50 and 2-to-1 for work in the 50 to 100. They have stuff going on in both buffers. They've been able to show, I would say, 75% mitigation. Essentially, they're required to do, if you're looking at exact numbers, they're required to do 2,157 square feet. There's not room on the lot to do all that. They've proposed 1,686. Visiting the site, the areas that they've shown is really the only area they can do it, and I would say half the vegetation there is native and half is invasive, so I just wanna make sure that when they're doing their replanting, that you're not just kinda scraping that whole area bare, that you're taking care to leave the natives that are mixed in there. If you're gonna be redoing the driveway to be all on this property, then I'd love to see that privet hedge go, and that could count too, on the east side of the driveway.
Yeah.
I think with the nitrogen reduction component of the IA system and the fact that they've done as much as they can with mitigation, I would recommend relaxing your hard and fast, requirement that they need to hit 2,157 square feet, and see that the IA technology plus the 1,686 would meet your requirements for mitigation. And then I would recommend, that when you do permit this, that, no fertilizers, herbicides, pesticides. They have very little lawn, but right on the front of the property, we noticed there's a lawn strip there that's clearly being treated by something, so. I have no further things. I guess you would continue to a date uncertain and then have to re-advertise. Unless you wanted to
So we push it out,
push it out to.
6 weeks, to maybe the first meeting in September?
Yeah, we could do that, but we'll see what everybody else has to say too. See what that meeting is.
Start with bid.
No questions. I think the email that you sent in response to Amy's questions was kind of clarified any questions I have, so that's it. That's all I have.
Looks good to me, especially the new fast septic system. I think that's great. Get rid of the older one.
I don't really have anything to add. I wasn't able to make it to the site. I guess I have just one thing to add, which is that, like, there seem to be sort of some little patches of lawn that are gonna be added, maybe on the back corner, by the ADU. It's a really common, sod blend, the fescue and micro clover, which is a great choice. I guess it just makes me wonder, you know, if any of the mitigation could be losing a little bit more, if it's like just that strip, or, I don't know.
I didn't catch that, that's good.
Something like that, and it's a little hard to tell from the aerial picture, you know, behind the proposed unit, you know, is there potential for that bed to just be more woodlandy bed rather than being lawn? And based on the lawn that you guys did see, you know, I think maybe that would be a good thing to minimize, but that's, other than that,
That makes sense. That makes sense to David.
So that's between that gravel strip and the mitigation? Okay.
Okay, well, I have a couple questions. One is, I did have a question about the driveway going over the neighboring lot, and you said you're gonna move it.
No, on the north side of the property. It's very faint on my site plan, but there's the backup area goes over the property line. It's just a very faint line by that 106.84 property line dimension.
Oh, it goes
There's
over
a little bit
there.
of driveway there that we didn't account for as mitigation because it's on the neighbor's property.
See, but I'm just
But it will
wondering
be
about
removed.
the driveway coming in
The east
extends over the property line too. Is that an issue here?
That's not being moved.
You're not doing anything?
Oh, okay, sorry, I misunderstood too.
I'm sorry.
Is it in common ownership?
Pardon?
Is the property to the east in common ownership?
I don't know the answer to that.
Doesn't look like it to me,
Making sure everybody's okay that the driveway's on somebody else's property.
but we're not,
It's not for us.
we don't need to worry about that, right?
No.
Because they're not proposing any changes there.
Right, it's
Okay.
a different issue for some.
Okay, so my only other comment is, yeah, there is a bit of existing lawn up on the south side, which is clearly treated. I didn't actually note what's going on the
It's-
northwest side, but
Pretty
really,
much
there's a
Cape
lot
Cod.
more, the area labeled existing vegetation, my recollection is there's a lot of ornamentals in there, and
Mm.
my point of view, it's maybe from a fertilizer and nutrients
Mm.
point of view, it's more of an issue actually, because the things people put on, those kinds of things aren't nitrogen only. I guess actually we don't have to worry so much about phosphorus here because it's all salt water. But I think we should, in the order of conditions, state clearly that there is to be no fertilizers or herbicides put on the property.
Property.
Um, And I guess there should be a suggestion there that there might be more appropriate natives to plant there, but I don't think we're going to. I wouldn't recommend that we make that part of any permit. It's just, we do need to state clearly that there's to be no herbicides, pesticides, or fertilizers on any of that, not just the lawn. I hope my fellow commissioners agree with me. I can see you thinking about that. But
I'd certainly let them
That's
know
what I have
that
to say.
that's, will be a consideration of the commission when it comes time for the order of conditions.
But we are at this point now,
Continuing, and the
Continuing.
date would be September 3rd is the first meeting in September.
Okay.
I'll move that we continue this hearing for 8 Cranberry Way, map 16, parcel W4-9 for building addition and septic to September 3rd, 2025.
I second it.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
So, all right. Now we have 2 orders of conditions, starting with 11 Riverbend Road, map 1, parcel G1-9, for house demolition and rebuilding, septic system and installation, bulkhead repairs and replacement, and mitigation plantings. Okay,
There's been some minor revisions since your original draft, and I'm happy to, provided it both to, Attorney Pyle as well as the Langs. And hopefully came up with something everybody can live with. I put, because it was kind of late in the game that I finished them, if you'd like me to read them through, I'm happy to do so. Yep. So a lot of on-site pre-construction meeting between the contractors, engineers, homeowner, and conservation administrator. Limit of work, be stake silt fence backed by straw wattles. The limit of work is not shown on the plan. I said the limit of work shall be placed no greater than 10 feet off the proposed corner of the house on the northeast side, and shall only encompass the disturbed area on the south side. It's to be installed prior to the pre-construction meeting so that I may inspect it. If any work is to be done by barge, the barge is only allowed between 2 hours before and 2 hours after high tide to prohibit grounding. A siltation boom shall be in place during any in-water silt producing activity. Native gravel shall be placed underneath the proposed house to assist with drainage, no hardening to be used. No hazardous materials are to be stored under the house in the floodplain. There was a little discussion on that one. There were, folks who wanted no storage under the house at all, but then the argument was made that other people have things stored on their properties in the floodplain, such as kayaks, toys, things like that. So I thought the most important thing is that no hazardous materials are to be stored underneath the house. The replacement house shall be built on open pile foundation with no lattice or breakaway walls in the event of a storm, and we know that this property sees flooding. Those just end up becoming more marine debris and damage other things on other properties. So, roof runoff shall be directed into gutters, downspouts, and dry wells. If this is not possible, as there is not enough separation to groundwater to install dry wells, a pervious native stone trench will be installed along the drip line of the roof at least 1 feet deep and 1 foot wide all the way around to capture the roof runoff. Native plantings shall be installed the same or next growing season as completion of the home. In the area that the invasive species are proposed to be removed on the northern property line, the area is to be reseeded with the native grass seed mix approved by myself. A few native shrubs may also be required. This shall be done in the same or next growing season as start of work on the house, as this area is not impeded by construction. Only a Massachusetts certified herbicide applicator is permitted to use herbicides on the invasive plants, and only using a cut and white method. Deeded rights of the way shall not be impeded by the proposed work. Applicant shall maintain the deeded access walkway to the Herring River, with any plantings to be approved administratively by the commission or its agent. No fertilizers, pesticides, or herbicides are to be used in the wetland resource area, 100-foot buffer or 200-foot riverfront area. I actually need to amend that to say with the exception of what's to be used on the invasives in that 300 square foot area in the northern property line. That can be done, but with a mass certified applicator. Give me 1 second. If the road is damaged because of this project, the owner shall bring the road back to pre-construction conditions. Prior to construction, spot elevations are to be taken in the low part of the road, and after construction, be reshot and compared. The commission, and I say that should be provided to commission, that report. The commission approves placement of up to 3 inches of native gravel in the private roadway to repair any damage caused by this project. No hardening is to be used. An as-built site plan stamped by an engineer and/or surveyor shall be provided when requesting a certificate of compliance.
Okay, do we have any comments or questions?
The only question I have, Amy, is what is native gravel? What's the definition?
Stone native to the area.
I mean, you're talking just regular stone, pure stone? What size, 3/4, ½ inch, inch and a half?
What would you like to see? What for?
Well, when you say gravel, gravel usually implies it's got some stability to it. Stone would be kind of like driving on marbles. I don't know
What condition
what
are
is
you
there now,
looking
I
at?
guess? I haven't seen this, so what is there now, basically on those roadways?
Like to be size, but it's loose, it doesn't have,
It's probably
much
½ inch
binder
to
in
an
it.
inch and a half size.
Of stone?
Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about is,
Yep, so I
Yeah,
can
okay.
clarify that.
yeah.
Native stone, not gravel. Is, yeah, all right. Okay.
Other than that,
Nothing to add?
sounds good to me.
Vivian,
No, no questions.
I don't have any. We might have comments in the room or online. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Noreen Kalen, West Harwich. I have one comment about the storage under the house. Since this is the site of the proposed scallop farm, I think, I don't know, saying that there's no scallop farm materials stored under the house,
No storage of commercial equipment.
most storage of commercial equipment, probably would do that, right?
I believe that's already in the other order of conditions on the outside seawall and scallop cages.
So it wouldn't hurt to
But
put it
I
there.
don't think it hurts if that's, if it's not gonna,
That's, no,
Ruffle
I don't think a
feathers
lot of
if
other
they-
people in the neighborhood have scallop shells.
we can add that.
That was my only comment. Thank you.
Mhm.
Good. Anything else from commissioners? Anything else in the room? So we can have a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve the order conditions for 11 River Bend, map 1, parcel G1-9.
Second?
Just a comment, adding as amended by Amy.
Yes.
Further comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Wait, who moved? Sorry.
Wayne.
Yeah.
Seconded?
Me.
Sorry. I know it's all on tape, but it just makes it so much easier when you have the notes here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You. Next, we have an order of conditions for 2026 Route 28, head of the Bay Road, map 91, excuse me, map 99, parcel V1-0, for invasive plant management and restoration project. Let's see.
So I wasn't gonna read through these in their entirety. They've been in your Dropbox for a while. I just made a slight change today, and it's nothing substantive. I can't even find it. Oh, special condition, number 4. No mulch other than a very light layer of natural leaf mulch is allowed, and only around new shrub plantings, and it's only to be installed once at the time of planting.
Any comments from commissioners?
Make a motion? Public? Right?
public comments?
Right. Make a motion to approve the order of conditions for 2026 Route 28, head of the Bay Road, map 99, parcel V1, restoration plan and basic plat 9, as protocol.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Next, we have discussion and possible vote for support of the town's draft revision to the open space and recreation plan.
So, I sent, John had a lot of comments, and a lot of them were clarification comments, and some wording and things like that. So I sent all those off to our consultant, which is Ty and Bond, and our town planner, who are putting together the document. I think the most substantive thing is the addition, we'll be adding a paragraph highlighting the importance of continuing with open space protection and management of that open space, which I think was a point that could have been, like, as John pointed out, could have been, could have came through a little bit more in the document. So, I don't have those things, but I'm hoping you will support the open space and rec plan.
Discussion.
I did read it finally, and I am happy to support it. I had 3 thoughts. One is the exact same as John's with the, just with the planting of the shade trees. There are so many great native options, and that list
Yeah.
is like a 1972 list of what trees to plant. So
Yep.
I think we can update that.
Yeah.
My other comment was just, on page 61, it calls out gypsy moth, and we call it spongy moth now.
Called what?
Call it
A spongy moth?
Spongy moth.
Spongy
No
moth.
longer gypsy moth.
It is
What,
no
we
longer
offend
gypsy.
somebody, so gypsies?
The
Are you
gypsies,
serious?
yeah.
Oh, for God's sakes.
Well,
Somebody's been watching too many morning cartoons.
I mean, it is what it
But
is.
let's be
We
correct,
changed language.
know?
We can just move on from it.
Yes.
Let's pretend it never happened.
Right.
It is spongy moth, like,
Spongy moth.
we'll just.
Thank you. I did not know.
Good catch.
Yeah.
And then my last thought, and I don't know, you can totally stop me if this is a can of worms, but when I was reading some of the objectives, for development and being thoughtful about that, it was sort of like the best practices for, new developments in neighborhoods and dwelling units. Like, it didn't catch my eye that there were any references to sort of like the landscape considerations of those areas, and like, even if that is a possibility, or yes or no, I don't know. So that was just a thought I had, and if that's like a,
Yeah, I'll see what we can, it's still open. So.
because they tend to, like, it seems like they were calling out the, the importance of the woodlands and the wildlife corridors and the
Yeah.
Yeah.
impact of land further than 100 feet from wetlands and stuff like that. And so if the best practices in all of these other areas and strategies, it seems like it would align to include the landscape of those developments.
Mhm.
That was all.
You're talking about more native, natural habitat in development areas. Is that what you're talking about?
I'm talking about considering the surrounding landscape and the function of and proximity to our sensitive resource areas when we're considering things like neighborhood proximity and, I don't know, community benefits, minimizing potential impacts and to the natural resources. It seems like, I'm not really sure. It's like locating that, but then if there's any, what other regulatory things are happening if, considering the impact of the landscaping, but input of lawn, the gutters, whatever, could be taken into consideration in a similar fashion, since it aligns with the other goals of this, document.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have nothing.
No, I don't have anything, I don't have any questions, I think it was, I mean, I got the whole history of from start to finish, I appreciated that at the beginning, and then the only other issue I had was the one that I
Yeah.
discussed with you offline regarding the.
I'll make sure, because that should have came through more strongly,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Which issue is that?
Should I?
If you want to.
It was a conversation that we had offline, it
I
just was a
see.
minor detail, it was more from a personal standpoint
Yeah.
about the way that a map was labeled,
Oh,
so it was mislabeled.
clarity.
So, yeah,
yeah.
I'd rather not go down that
That's
rabbit
fine,
hole.
that's fine. I get it. So I actually, finally got around to reading the section 9, I think it is. I forget what the title is, but it's where tables, like endless tables
Oh, the appendix.
of the goals. And that actually sort of made me feel better about the whole thing, to tell
Yeah.
you the truth. Because some of the things I was concerned about and not sure I was finding in the text,
Document is there.
in the narrative, a lot of that stuff was in the actual goals, which all seem pretty ambitious to me, actually, which is good. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, why shoot, we should shoot for more, not less.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Can I-
And we don't always, between last rendition, we accomplished sometime, we should show you all the things that we've accomplished between the last iteration and this iteration of the document. And a lot of things in the last document, we could take completely off because we've done them. So it's a good guidance document.
Can I ask another question that just came to me when you were speaking there, John, with regard to the grid? Who's responsible for writing all these grants?
Depends. If it's for recreation, then it's the rec department.
Oops.
A lot of conservation is related, it's usually me.
And are you solely responsible for that? Are there a little team somewhere in this building that
now
write
it would
grants,
be-
is what I'm-
We don't have a designated grant writer. We have people who have done a lot of grant writing, of which I am one. Our new natural resource director, I think, is going to be a strong ally and assistant in this, and also the assistant agent. And other, the Harwich Conservation Trust is always willing to help
Okay.
with grants. So a lot of times, land acquisition lately has been, the trust has been acquiring more land, and we have the restrictions on it, and they've been doing a lot of the grant writing for like the state land grants, which has been extremely helpful. So there is a ad hoc team, I guess you could say. It's not solely me,
Okay.
but
So-
we work to prioritize what ones to go for. I actually enjoy writing grants. It's strange as it is.
Yeah, that's,
okay.
yeah, to be continued.
I really like getting them when I get them.
Yeah, I would imagine.
We've got 3 right now.
Are you a grant writer?
Not by, not historically
Yeah.
speaking, but was one of the reasons that I was asking, because it's like, I feel like there's never enough, there's more, I could be wrong, you can verify, you can speak to this, Amy, but there's more money available than people can write grants
Yep.
for, or you have the
there's-
people power to do that for,
Right.
so that's kind of where I was going with it.
Yep. I would love if the town would have a designated grant writer.
We used to have, didn't we, a long time ago? I thought back when I was around before. that
Maybe
we had
then,
one. That was
but
quite a while ago, in the 90s.
not in my time. There's a lot of money out there for a lot of projects. stormwater, fish passage, natural resource protection, like a lot of the really important things, and we just don't have, we do as much as we can.
Thank you.
The grant writing is actually the easy part, it's the grant management, after you get the
To get
grant,
the money, yeah.
the reporting requirements and that's the hardest part.
That makes sense, yeah. You gotta have to account for where
Yep.
the money goes and what you've
The
done with it.
procurement process is extensive. Even if you have grants, you have to go through you have to go through this procurement process, and it's hard. Or time consuming, I should say.
Devil is in the details,
All right.
always is.
So, I am in favor of, supporting this.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
So
Could you
what,
take a vote, please?
what
Vote
exactly?
to support the revision of the town's open space and recreation plan with the comments that you provided.
So moved.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, that works.
discussion.
Somebody second?
Sophia?
Sophia. I thought I heard her.
All those in favor?
Aye.
John, I would like you to sign this, please.
Just John?
Just John.
Yes,
On your
John.
behalf.
That's right. Put him in
Kind of a
hot seat.
boilerplate letter. And Lisa is still working on the minutes. She's almost done, so no minutes this time.
Okay,
Can I take a moment to just be obnoxious for a second?
oh, please do.
Thank you.
I would love that.
Yeah, I'm
Sophia.
sure everybody would. I've been thinking a little bit as we talk through some of the projects and stuff like that, and it's a little persnickety, but I'm wondering a little bit about our language for plants. And I feel like every time people say, oh, you have to do native plants here and you could do ornamental plants here. And I object a little bit because I feel like a lot of people have this opinion of native plants that it's sort of like, oh, okay, like they're gonna look like crappy and scraggly and like they're not gonna be pretty like the ornamental plants. And so I guess I was just wondering if it's worth considering using a different word for like, you know, like introduced plants, or I feel like exotic gets a little bit weird
Yeah.
also, but something other than ornamental, because there's tons of native plants that are very ornamental and that are really beautiful. And so
You just say non-native, too.
say non-native, yeah, totally. Anything that's just doesn't suggest one is pretty and the other one
I
is
get it.
sad.
I'm sure, I'm sure you have to convince people that native plants are beautiful just as much as, or if not more, than I do. And they are,
Some of them, yeah.
I mean, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, we could,
So not ornamentals, but
Non-native.
non-natives versus natives, yeah.
No pressure. I'm not gonna like call.
That's yeah, that's not obnoxious.
Under-
Yeah,
that
you
was
can do
easy,
better than
Sophia.
that.
Yeah, come on, Sophia, I was expecting something
I know, you got me all worked up.
Well, I have a question under other business here. What's the fiasco going on in the driveway, the bridge in the,
Oh,
Well, we had a little bit of rain, Wayne.
yes, I know we did. I'm well aware of that.
So, the MassDOT, so since the reconstruction of the bridge and the sidewalks and the road widening and all that, there's just a lot more hard surface. And the storm basins that are on the road cannot keep up with it. And there's just also not enough of them. So we've been now since, and Sophia's right there, so she can say otherwise, but there's been a few events since the reconstruction that it's washed out, specifically on the south side of the bridge, if you're coming from headwaters.
Yeah.
It's washed out those people's driveways or the embankment and caused not just damage to the driveways, but a lot of siltation into the river. So the first time it happened, it kind of got brushed off like, oh, this was a fluke, but it keeps happening. So it happened big time last week, and went down there with natural resources, we documented it, contacted the engineer on that project and said, you gotta do something about this. This is your work. You gotta do something about this. Copied DPW because obviously they need to be involved. So he responded pretty quickly that, you know, we're gonna be looking into this right away. This is not just the first time it's happened. But I haven't heard from him since last week. So I was gonna give him to the end of this week to get back to me about what their plan of action is gonna be. I talked with DPW, because looking at the road, and I am not a road engineer or stormwater expert, but it could definitely benefit from an additional catch basin, because there's quite a big distance between one and then the bottom of the hill. Would it capture it all? Probably not, but would it help? Probably so. Or installing some sort of swale at the base, in addition, but that would be on a neighbor's property. The town did fix that person's driveway, because it was just the right thing to do. But we've already fixed it before. So we're waiting, it may have to come down to an enforcement order, by myself on your behalf, that they have such and such time to respond, to come up with an action plan about how they're gonna address this. 'Cause, yeah, it's silting in the river, which is our main herring run.
I am kind of surprised that the state engineers didn't take into consideration what was gonna happen once
The
they finished it.
larger amount of hardscape that
Yeah,
they put in.
exactly. They should have taken that into consideration when they planned the project. And are they still under control of it, or they own it at this point?
They own it. They
Until
wanna
what
hand it off,
point?
they wanna hand it off to the town, but the town is not gonna wanna accept
No,
it until it's
no,
fixed.
Definitely not until they fix it properly.
Right, so we've had that between myself, Natural Resources, and DPW, and MassDOT, we're trying to work it out.
So you're gonna have to dredge out some of the spoil that's in the river?
Maybe, they already had to do it once. Right now, fish can pass
Yeah.
quite easily, but,
Yeah, should take out whatever went in there.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was, it's a large amount of material, I have
There's a lot of
photos.
rain. You talking about last Thursday?
So, I'll pass that around if you want.
Oh, yeah, nice mess. That's
That's
also.
on that's not the driveway, but that's on the
Right,
side,
that's the
that's where
south
most
side.
of the sand came from.
Yeah. That reminds me of, down at the 28 down there by Brax. That water, they didn't do anything to stop that from going in. That water on the east side go right down in there, and washed it right in
Yeah,
there.
that must have been.
They're
I didn't
not,
see it. I wasn't
supposedly
down there, but
not
That must have been a.
Oh my
done
God, I
with
didn't
that
see it from
yet.
that angle.
Yeah, but in the meantime, they should have done
Yeah.
something to stop it, you know? Because they probably won't do anything with it until fall or winter or
Yeah.
something, you know? They're not gonna do it in the summertime.
I'll look into it, that one too.
'Cause I think we had mentioned that once before when they left it. But yeah,
What did they do under the?
Well,
car
I just
park?
wish they hadn't stripped that whole area if they weren't gonna be doing any work to it until, cause that's the conversation I had with MassDOT, is they're like, oh, we're not gonna get to the Brax Bridge area, which they did, they got to it,
right.
but we're not gonna do it we're not gonna finish it until the fall, and I'm like, well, why do we, if you're just gonna be working kind of within the roadway, why do you have to strip the land so
Right.
much in
Yeah,
advance?
they overstripped
They
it, they
stripped-
really did. But they should just go back and, hay bale it or something, or
Yeah,
put a bunch of
yeah.
stuff there to
Right.
keep the sand from going in
For
there.
sure, yeah.
Erosion at Brax Bridge. Alright,
I'm sure they.
One
have
more
it
thing.
down. Yes.
Sure they do.
we still have a bit of a bloom, algae bloom at Bucks Pond, particularly on the west side, so we have an advisory up for the whole pond, just 'cause it can move with the wind. West Reservoir is still under an advisory as well, not surprising, unfortunately. The big risk there is letting dogs swim and drink out of it, and that's a huge risk, is to let them in there. For some reason, I need to talk with APCC, because their sampling is showing no cyano at West Reservoir, and I've been sampling once a week at minimum there, and every time, there's a visible scum on the Bell's Neck Road side of it, and it's chock-a-block full, so I'm like, where are you sampling from?
Yeah.
Cause it's pretty obvious, and it smells, so.
Yeah.
So, we're gonna go with our own review of that, my own review of I looked at it through a scope, and we're gonna go with that and just err on the side of caution and keep it closed.
Alrighty, I'll make a motion, we adjourn the, meeting of the Howard Conservation Commission of July 16th, 2025.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye, aye, aye.
Aye.